Welcome to the first module of Bitcoin Mastery. I'm really excited to have you here. You have taken a major step in your Bitcoin and cryptocurrency success. I'm going to make sure that by the end of this course, you're going to be well aware of what Bitcoin is, how you can profit in this market, and how you can really build a brand and a business in this market. There's so many different ways that you can basically profit and have different sources of income in the cryptocurrency market. Okay, there's mining, lending, trading, and building a crypto brand, which we will dive into. Right now, I just want to give you an overview of what Bitcoin actually is. I want you to be able to understand this so you are way ahead of the average person that reads about Bitcoin in the news. Okay, I want you to be able to teach people exactly what Bitcoin is, how it works, how it functions, the technology behind it, and who introduced Bitcoin to the internet. So we're going to go ahead and get into this first module, which will be a little bit longer. So sit back, get your pen and paper out so you can take some notes. And this is going to be a longer module. Okay, this is more theory. This is going to be a whiteboard module, but future modules will be on the computer, and I'll be showing you and interacting with you on exactly how you can profit in the Bitcoin market. Okay, so we're going to go over what Bitcoin actually is, who made Bitcoin and who introduced it into the internet, why did they do this, when did they do this, where Bitcoin fits into society, and how we can profit in this highly profitable and lucrative market that is so new and there's so much growth. By the time I'm making this video right now for you, and right now the Bitcoin price is 6,400. It could be lower by the time you're watching this video, or it could be way higher. When I first got involved in Bitcoin, it was in the 2,000 range, and it's almost tripled. It's pretty much tripled since then. So let's go ahead and get into these major questions, and I'm going to answer these so you fully understand what Bitcoin is, what cryptocurrencies are, and what the blockchain technology can produce for society. Okay, let me get my eraser real quick. All right, so what is Bitcoin? That's the biggest question. What is Bitcoin? What are cryptocurrencies? Okay, Bitcoin is a digital currency. Okay, it's a digital currency that's peer-to-peer. Okay, sorry, that's a little bit messy. And these are peer-to-peer transactions. And what does peer-to-peer mean? Okay, peer-to-peer means that there is no third party needed, right? Nowadays, right, when we purchase something with a credit card, okay, let's say we go to Walmart or Target or something like that, and we purchase some clothes or food or whatever. We use our credit card, and then this is, let's just pretend this is Target's transaction system, right? This is Target, this is Visa, okay? A bank, right, we send the money over here, but a bank, the third party, has to approve this transaction, okay? So every transaction that we make in today's society has to be approved by a bank, okay? This takes time, this takes money, this costs. Businesses are paying for this transaction to be able to happen, okay? Businesses usually pay like 2.5%, 3% to have that little credit card swiper. So basically they're paying the banks that transaction fee, okay? And maybe they put that transaction fee into the cost of the actual good. Who knows? But basically, a third party has to be present. But with Bitcoin, okay, I could send you money, okay? I could send you Bitcoin, and this is you, and this is your wallet, okay? I could send you Bitcoin, but no third party has to be there, okay? No one has to validate this transaction. No third party has to, okay? And that's the benefits of Bitcoin, is that It's peer-to-peer. There's no transaction. I mean, there is a mining cost, which I'll talk about that later on, but very low fees, right? Very low cost. No third party has to validate the transaction, and it's quick. It's quick and easy, and basically this data is stored on the blockchain ledger. Okay, it's basically an accounting ledger. Okay, it's a ledger that has every transaction ever made in history, so that there's no double spending. There's no double spending. There's no way around it. A computer has to validate this transaction that happens between us, and it's very easy and simple. Okay, and it's stored on the blockchain. So it's a digital currency. Bitcoin is a digital currency that's peer-to-peer. Okay, and no third party is needed, no banks are needed, and that's kind of the the benefits of Bitcoin. But of course, we have heard a lot of bad things about this. Okay, so Bitcoin, you probably heard of the Silk Road, right? And we'll just dive into this because I want to tell you about the negative connotations that you probably hear about in the news. And I want to address those problems right now in the beginning of this module. So Silk Road was basically a website that was anonymous. Okay, and there was paraphernalia being sold on there. There was, you name it, and drugs, all types of different things being sold on Silk Road, and the main currency was Bitcoin. Okay, so that gave Bitcoin a very bad name, and this was back in I believe 2010 to 2012, I believe. And basically what happened was the FBI cracked down on Silk Road. They found out, they found a couple members that were, heavy in this and had a lot of say in the Silk Road, and basically shut down the whole operation. And now the FBI has one of the largest stores of Bitcoin. Okay, so FBI owns a lot of the Bitcoin. They have a big Bitcoin wallet. Of course, there was bad that happened. There was bad things that happened with Bitcoin because it was a peer-to-peer digital currency, and it's untraceable, right? I mean, every transaction could be seen on the blockchain, but we don't know who's behind those transactions, okay? And that was what was so enticing about it for people that abuse the system, okay? But now I want to show you the benefits, okay? I want to show you why it was introduced and kind of get into who introduced it. So we know that Bitcoin is a digital currency, no third party needed, no banks, right? And that played a big part in why Bitcoin was introduced. Okay, and I'm gonna briefly explain why Bitcoin was introduced and the benefits of it. Okay, so Bitcoin was introduced in 2009. Okay, on a site called it was Bitcoin.org. Okay, and the software was basically introduced to the internet by a person named Satoshi Nakamoto. Okay? We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. He was an anonymous figure. Okay, he was an anonymous figure who is now worth over $5 billion. But we don't know who he is or she. All we know is that they introduced Bitcoin to the internet. They introduced the software. There's speculation on who it could be. Maybe Nick Szabo. He is the creator of BitGold, right? BitGold was I don't ever think BitGold was taken through to the finalization, but basically in the 1990s, Nick Szabo created BitGold, or he had an idea of BitGold, and it was basically going to be the same thing as Bitcoin, okay? Very, very similar. So there is speculation that he could be Satoshi Nakamoto. There's speculation that others could be. But basically, Satoshi Nakamoto was an anonymous figure on the Bitcoin forum. Okay, so he was communicating with lots of people that helped build and run the actual Bitcoin network. Okay, but he created it. He introduced it in 2009. Okay, in 2009, as we all know, what was going on in 2008 and 2009. Okay, this is when Bitcoin was introduced. Basically, we went through one of the biggest crisis of all times, the banking crisis, or real estate banking crisis of 2008 and 2009. A lot of people lost their jobs. Basically, the banks were loaning out money, these subprime mortgage-backed securities that they were loaning out money to people who couldn't afford it to pay it back, basically, for houses, for mortgages, okay? So these subprime mortgages were very high risk, and people were buying 5-6 houses that they couldn't even afford, and basically the bubble burst, okay? The home prices came down in value, people couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore, and the banks now were holding on to depreciating asset because the housing prices were coming down. So that led to the biggest banking crisis in 2008 and 2009. And this was the perfect time for someone to introduce a digital currency that had no connection to the banks, right? This was a perfect time for someone to introduce a radical change, something radical, revolutionizing that people might be willing to adopt, right? Because so many people were mad at the banks. I remember there was a time where my grandma had a bank account at, I don't even know this, I think this bank actually shut down. But she couldn't get her cash out of the bank. She couldn't get her cash back. So there was a lot of banks that, didn't have enough reserves, right? They didn't have enough reserves to give people back their money. A lot of bad stuff happened with, there was stocks, banking stocks. I mean, the Lehman Brothers, their stock went to zero. They went out of business. And there was people that invested their, retirement money in Lehman Brothers and stuff like that. So people lost 50% of their retirement in the stock market, in the housing market. So this was a perfect time for Satoshi to introduce a currency that didn't have anything to do with the banks, okay? Because the banks, in Satoshi's mind, and I'm just guessing on what he was thinking, was the banks were untrustworthy, okay? And this was a perfect time, and people started to adopt this. And as you can see now, people have adopted Bitcoin, okay? And I would say Bitcoin is like online gold, okay? It's like online gold. That's what I like to think of it as, okay? And in some other instances,